right. Thanks for staying with us. Nigeria has been elected into the Global Steering Committee of the Open Government Partnership, and that's the OGP. Open Government Partnership is a multi-stakeholder initiative that focuses on improving government transparency, accountability, and responsiveness to citizens through technology and innovation.
Now, the Global Steering Committee of the OGP, which Nigeria is now part of, is the executive decision-making body of the initiative. Nigeria's Minister of Justice and Attorney General says the country joined the steering committee to further deepen the reforms already initiated by government to confront corruption and block leakages of resources that will be used to fund development.
Now, the federal government has, says it will work with non-state actors and civil society organizations to implement a national plan of action. Well, we have joining us from, he's actually on Skype. I guess he's on Skype. We should, hook up with him shortly. He's of Open Government Partnership, Uche Igwe. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you most sincerely.
All right, good to have you. Transparency in governance in general in Nigeria, and maybe most African countries, if not all, has not really been a strong point. Your thoughts?
Well, I think that, yes, transparency has not been a major strong point in many countries. But as you know, President Muhammad Buhari was elected basically because he symbolizes transparency and he promised to make a difference, and he's doing exactly what he promised. And as you know, he has just been elected into the African Union. He has been named the African Union Personality Anti-Corruption Champion for the year 2018. And for us, it is a clear confirmation that he is walking the talk. And we wholeheartedly support him. And Open Government Partnership, as you know, he was the president that led the country to sign on to Open Government Partnership. And as you know, it's 4 major thematic areas: anti-corruption, fiscal transparency, freedom of information, and of course, citizens' engagement. And again, like you outlined, this is the first time that civil society organizations and government are sitting on the same table, not only as partners, but as equal partners. Because on Open Government Partnership Steering Committee, globally and nationally, you have equal number of civil society sitting. If you have 10 civil society, you have 10 government. And for us, this is phenomenal. And very many people have described it as a quiet revolution. Something very commendable that this government is doing.
All right, let me stay with you, Dr. Igwe. The OGP initiative, what does it stand to do differently? Because it's coming in now, Nigerians will say, well, they've had a lot of initiative in the past and so on. What is going to be different about this?
Well, OGP is completely different. Like I told you, civil society and government, they're sitting together to co-create. We had co-created what we call the National Action Plan. And let me give you an instance. An instance is one of the major commitments. The first commitment really is a commitment on open budgeting. The budget process, as you know, is no longer a budget process crafted solely by the executive arm of government and then thrown at the National Assembly. A robust consultative process through the framework of Open Government Partnership is now in place, where civil society and government sit around the table and take priority issues from citizens and then mainstream such into the budget, and then also subject the budget proposal through a robust consultative process before forwarding same to the National Assembly. So the budget today, the budget proposal reflects, as it were, the priority of citizens, and that is doing things differently. The second commitment is the commitment on open contracting. Today, the Bureau for Public Procurement, BPP, is implementing what we call NOCOPO. NOCOPO is the National Open Contracting Platform. In short, what that means is that You can sit wherever you are and get government contract without having to know anybody. For us, this is also another revolution. It is an online automated process, first of its kind, that has won awards even globally. This is another area, that a lot of difference has been made currently. Of course, the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. You know that today, this whole issue of Nigeria not knowing how many barrels of oil we produce and the issues of metering infrastructure, where they're supposed to be and where they are, is currently being tackled. And, NEITI, and is also working with the Corporate Affairs Commission in a major area that is known as beneficial ownership transparency. Is an area that government is championing to make sure that secret ownership of companies through fronts will end. And not only that is going to end, there is also a robust legislation that is on its way to the National Assembly. With that legislation, the Corporate Affairs Commission, the enabling law that established the Corporate Affairs Commission, which is the Company and Allied Matters Act, will be reviewed and reenacted, such that the Corporate Affairs Commission will have, the legal backing to take in beneficial ownership information. So all those who think that they can own companies anonymously, all those who think that they will use fronts, all those who think that they can hide, resources, public funds stolen unscrupulously, their days in this country are numbered. For us, again...
All right. It's interesting. Let me come in here, Uche Igwe, that you more or less are scoring this administration more than a pass mark when it comes to transparency, with all the things that you've listed that this government has been able to put in place. But Transparency International doesn't seem to agree with that, saying, as a matter of fact, Nigeria is doing even worse than it did before this administration came on board. That's not to say that our focus this morning really is on the performance of this administration in transparency. It's a general issue. And under this, unfortunately, we can't seem to hear Uche Igwe there anymore.
Forgotten. Hello?
Yes, okay.
What people have forgotten is that Transparency International put up what is called Corruption Perception Index.
Yeah.
I will be waiting for them to put out a Corruption Reality Index. And perception remains a perception. And I had written extensively on this, and I said that there are occasions when too many fights really are going on. There are a whole lot of litigations, and there's a whole lot of agencies really who sort of come to the newspapers and try to score marks that they're fighting corruption. So this cacophony of voices sometimes make it look like corruption is more than it is in real terms. And that is why, again, through the framework of open government partnership, there is a national strategy for coordination of all the efforts, under one umbrella, so that every agency knows what another agency is doing. And fighting corruption should not be done on the pages of newspapers.
All
the
right,
risk is that
Igwe.
when corruption is fought on the pages of newspapers, corruption will begin to look bigger than it is. And that is why the Corruption Perception Index, which is far away from the corruption reality, is scoring Nigeria low at the moment.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, we have to leave you here now. Dr. Uche Igwe of the Open Government Partnership, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
All right. Of course, experts and analysts have been talking about, what lack of transparency, corruption, and all the others have been costing not only Nigeria but other African countries.
Yeah, and sometimes we also hear about the issue of perception. Perception remains a perception. But the point there is that all the measures that are put in place to say we perceive that this institution is corrupt or this institution is not very transparent, at convenience. Sometimes we also use the so-called perception. If sometimes it doesn't go down well,
on whose part? On the part of Transparency International?
On the part of those who see it as just perception.
Okay. By
saying, okay, it's just perception. That's
but
not
then
the
again, the same perception can actually affect both local and foreign investment.